um, as parents, I have to say first
kids are out of school. I know a lot of it's shifted with people who are homeschooled, or a lot of children who go to, like, they have school that runs different schedules now. But the vast majority of your school systems here still observe sort of that summer break, and that's when you'd expect that, and spring break, right? Those are the high ticket periods, right? So let's move on quick to one of our hosts who actually has had a recent change in how the theme park experience will be for them. Because Sister Audrey, when you obviously started going to theme parks, you've lived in Florida, for a good portion of your life in Jacksonville. So it was within a 2-hour drive to get to Orlando. So I'm sure you got a lot of experience doing that. But then, of course, when you and Brother RJ first got married and were dating, theme parks were a thing, right? And then now you have a third party in your family. How has that experience changed for you in terms of preparing and knowing what you're going to be doing at the theme parks, and how that whole experience is going to be transformed now that you have a 7-month-old?
Oh, yes. I mean, we both Brother RJ and I had childhood core memories, just like the children of Sister Joy and Brother Billy, going to the theme parks. But I truly, honestly, growing up, there was a period of time where I recall the magic of it all. And then there was a period of time where I transitioned into where Brother Tristan now stands, where it was just, ugh, I don't want to go. I will be hungry. I will be hot. I will be uncomfortable. So it took a little bit to kind of come back around. But as a Florida grown, Florida raised, that time period of that gap where coming back to the theme parks almost in early adulthood, it was really nice. And much like the relationship at that point, Brother RJ and I were just dating then. That sort of restored the magic, because it was like all the good memories started coming back. And then, of course, we had the very rare opportunity to go during the pandemic, where there were no crowds, like no lines, and there was, I mean, truly, you walked in and the check-in, like I check in, I say that as if we're at the airport, but the check-in time from the gate, I mean, less than 10 minutes. When usually, like, they're checking your bags, you're going through security and checking to see if you have any, like, just that in-depth security. It was a breeze. So we had a very rare picture of us in front of the Disney castle with no crowds. We were still masked, of course, but so now that we're in this transition of from no crowds to lots of crowds again, but with a baby, I'm so glad that, the tip that the Ali family shared earlier, it was really great, because as a breastfeeding mom, it really helps to have like large containers of water on hand, because not only do you have to stay hydrated, like what Brother Billy said, just the bare minimum of being hydrated, you got to hydrate times like 3 of that if you want to produce the milk. So it was a fun adventure, and we got to do it with the family. And now baby Jay gets to experience the magic of Harry Potter World and with Universal and the Minions. So all of that is good fun.
Yeah, there's also a baby changing station as well.
Yes.
And keep in mind, every theme park in Walt Disney World has a first aid station. If you have a headache, you need some Tylenol, ibuprofen, Benadryl for any allergies. You will go there, and there's nurses there that will tend to you. You can even lay down in the AC, cool off a little bit, take grandma or grandpa there, So
Yes,
I'm a grandpa. I'm a grandpa. I get to go.
Grandpa right there.
and then for the moms, there's nursing stations too. I didn't know there was like a baby station where, like, if you had supplies, you could just get it, and people are so supportive. When we were at Universal, where we were in the park, and was ways away, but one of the we were in Seussland, and the employee there was so generous. She let us sit by the window where there's like a seating area in like the books area, and she said, please make yourself feel comfortable, relax in the AC, and tend to your baby. So it was,
It
it's
is so nice.
it's
That
come a long way. So I've heard.
is.
So I've heard.
It had, if they have
Good
that
stuff.
now, I know that Disney had that because, I had two that grew up where I was, well, we were not breastfeeding, but we have nursing stations, right? And it's like individual rooms. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, they really know how to cater to families. I have to give
really
them that.
do.
When it comes to family,
Yeah,
they will bend over to make sure that your stay is truly magical.
yeah,
Yeah, and the experience, but the thing is, you have to know about it, right? Yeah, a lot of people, because you're so focused on the rides and the food and the restaurants you're going to eat at and everything else, but coming prepared to a park here in Orlando, understand that that a lot of thought, just like not only with the medical care that's being provided through organizations like with Brother Billy and the group that he works with, but more importantly, inside the park as well. They have dedicated areas for,
Yeah.
like what you said, nursing moms. They have a fully stocked first aid station there, from Band-Aids to,
Yep.
if and I think at Disney, at Magic Kingdom, they even have a station that has like baby food and things that you can get if you needed it in a pinch, right?
Yeah.
Which just for whatever reason. But I mean, still come prepared. I mean, if you're coming with an infant and that you're coming with an infant, bring the essentials. Make sure that you've got the water. Make sure you've got the formula. Make sure you've got the formula
diapers.
refrigerated.
Diapers.
And diapers that and be sure that you're putting all the things that need to be preserved inside like a little cooler that you can come into, like a little soft-sided cooler, because again, this is Florida, so that means that even in March, and even in the beginning of March, the temperatures can go. Because I think we joked about it not too long ago, right, Joy, that you could experience all four seasons
In
here
one
in
day.
Florida. In one day.
One day.
Exactly. In the
It's
morning. Yeah, when you get to the park in the morning, it's probably like in the 60s, upper 50s, 60s, and then by 3:00, it's summertime, and you're in the 80s, pushing the upper 80s. And when those temperatures change, if you're bringing formula or baby food or something, you got to be sure that you're preparing for that. And one of the things that I think was really impressive was just like what Sister Audrey was saying, was just how proactive so many of the staff are at the parks in like being able to, and I guess that's what they're taught, right? They're groomed to just really exude customer service. Like that's
Absolutely. I mean,
right.
it's definitely something to model because it's here. I mean, the energy and you really do feel welcomed. That Disney welcome you get. It's like as soon as you step foot on their property, it's like it is magical. Everyone is just you feel that.
Yes.
Well,
definitely
there's that transformation, right? The transformation of the customer service, the transformation of the hamburgers that go from $2 to $18,
Yes.
the bottled water that goes from $1.99 to $6. So you, it's all part of the transformation of the experience. But that's why up until recently, didn't know that you could bring these in. I thought it was like the airport, where if I walk in with my own personal water bottle, I got to dump the water, like the TSA process, where I empty the bottles and everything else. So,
Now, I know for Disney you can. I know for Universal you can now. I know for
SeaWorld.
certain
SeaWorld you
parks
cannot.
like SeaWorld you cannot. But the tip and trick there at SeaWorld is that you buy their it's a reusable like jug, and I think it's like $20, but hydrate. And the key thing is there, don't always fill it up with soda. Do fill it up with some water so that you
Yeah,
can
it's also good to hydrate for the future, like before you get there, and also take the time and slow down. Check on our elderly, right? Because remember,
Oh, right.
they don't want to ruin the vacation, so they're trying their best to keep up. And then at the end of the trip, they're already working 4 or 5 miles, and now we get called to come see them,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
which is okay.
yeah, be sure you check on your grandpas.
Please.
Make sure you
Because
check
for
on the
grandpa,
grandpas, okay?
You're right
Check
over
on the
there with
grandpas to
Robert.
make sure. I try to keep up. Last trip, I actually got on a roller coaster for the first time in like 7 years, or 8, maybe even more than that.
Wow.
It'll probably be that long before I get on another one. But
Wow.
one of the other things too, as a tip, be sure that you're checking what you are bringing in and understand what are the prohibited items, because
Yes.
one of the things that I think is the worst part of the experience before you even get in is to have waited, gone to the parking lot, and then stood in line, and then took the tram to get to the front gate, and now you're an hour and a half into your day, only to be turned around because you had a prohibited item in your bag. So please know what those are, so that way you aren't having to be that guy or girl who has to walk all the way back to the parking lot to put something back away. So it's important you do check those things. But overall, in going to the parks, I think understanding, now that you could bring in food, that's going to be a big savings for a lot of parents and families, right? So you're not having to do the theme park parking lot tailgate party.
Even the hotel.
Right.
Even the hotels, many we know that many families, when they come here, they want to have the full Disney experience, and you don't actually have to go to a theme park resort, like whether it's a Disney resort, a Universal resort, because we live here in Orlando and the central part. Many of our other, like whether it's close in proximity to the park or if it's near the airport, a lot of these are theme park themed, and you can still even experience at our local shops. Like you go down to the Target or to the Walmart, you can get some nice
Disney
stuff. Merch. I mean, for a fraction of the cost. You like the ears, you can get the ears.
We make our own ears at home.
I hear you.
You hear me? So yeah, I mean, I think that's a valuable tip too. You don't feel that you have like, oh, I'm only going to be at the park for another 3 hours. I got to get the shirt. I have to get this. We assure you that and it sometimes even at the at the gas station, or wherever you charge. If you have an electric vehicle, wherever those stands are, they have those.
They're the third party people out there that sell the same stuff. So.
Yes, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, well, and they do. I mean, there's certain, I guess, designs or themes at the park that are specific to the park that you can only get at that park. But if you are looking for just general merch, especially if it's stuff that you want to bring back home to friends and family, with the Orlando theme parks, the local retail big box stores all around Orlando have them. Some of the outlet malls actually have the stores for both Universal and Disney, where you can find a lot of the actual in-park merchandise at a great discount when you go outside. I mean, 40, 50, 60% off of what you would be paying inside the park. Now, it's not going to be maybe that year's, merchandise.
1975.
If you're into vintage stuff, but it's incredible how big those discounts are, like sweatshirts and T-shirts and stuff like that. But we're talking about food, and I think so. Let's hop really quick, because when we talk about different experiences, obviously. Sister Joy and Brother Billy, you guys have gone into the parks with your experiences with your kids watching them grow up there. Sister Audrey, you're just now starting that experience with Jamie, coming in at 7 months, and you're going to watch him and his eyes get bigger as he gets older, as he starts to recognize characters and recognize where he's at. And with us, now as grandparents, we got kind of watch that whole spectrum of seeing our kids, enjoying them, being exhausted, being unhappy in the happiest place on earth, as parents, because we're just exhausted. But I think for me and Sister Lulu, our biggest thing about theme parks, because I asked the question earlier, is like, well, what is it that you go to the parks for? And it may not be rides at this stage in our life, but I'll tell you right now, you will find some of the best food at these theme parks. Especially when we talk about different theme parks. You've got Universal and the Disney parks. For us, our favorite park is Epcot. And the reason Epcot is such a big deal for us is because if you go there are rides, of course, but a lot of people, who come here may not realize that the ability to visit 8, 9 different countries and experience the culture and the food of those 9 different countries in one visit is something everyone has got to try, especially if you go there like in the October fall months when they have their food festival. In the spring, they have their
food. We all love
Yeah. Also,
They have-
another tip, Robert, is Disney Springs, right?
Yes.
The shopping district as well as restaurants, and it's pretty reasonable. And the parking is free. They have very safe parking garages. And you can walk around. That's normally a lot of guests. That's their last leg of the day, or their last before they head out back home or whatever. They'll go to Disney Springs, and parking is free. You don't have to pay for any entrance, and you can go to visit all the different restaurants. It's a beautiful area. You can walk, enjoy the sightseeing and whatnot as well. So
that was going to be like a gold star hack. Was that if you are wanting to go to the Orlando parks and experience kind of the magic of the Disney experience and everything else, but may not necessarily want to hit up a park and pay for a park entrance every day, you can go to Disney Springs, and Disney Springs gives you that full experience. I think it's still classified as the world's largest Disney store, right? The one in Disney Springs.
Yes, World of Disney. Yes.
Yeah, the world of Disney is still the largest.
Yeah,
It's like somebody took 4 Costco's and put them together.
Yeah.
It's like somebody took 4 Costco's and put them together, and
we love Costco.
It's like a Buc-ee's, Like,
Oh yeah, there you go.
Well, Buc-ee's is a theme park experience all the time.
And we're Florida grown, and when our kids go in there, it's like we lost them. They're all in different areas.
And it's actually the safest place for kids to get lost, believe it or not, at a Disney theme park.
Good to know.
As long as they don't jump into the water, it's the safest place for them to get lost. We see a lot of parents freaking, oh my gosh, my kid's lost. It's okay, calm down. We'll find them. There's security guards everywhere as well, and cast members always on the look.
You know what's hilarious? I realize that if your child gets if the family gets separated at Disney, it's not a missing child. They actually refer to it as missing parents.
Right.
That's
It's actually like lost parents. So when the Disney security, has the child, they're saying we're looking for some lost parents instead of saying we have a lost child, which I think it's hilarious and awesome at the same time.
It is. It's actually brilliant if you think about that. You don't put that responsibility on the child. Like, where are these parents?
For all we know, the child is probably clueless and they're in their own world enjoying their time. The parents are the ones that are stressed.
Yep, exactly.
Imagine, I'm 7 years old and lost in Disney.
Yes. Yes.
They're not lost. They discovered a whole new world.
Literally a whole new world.
No pun intended.
But when as we talk about, especially from a perspective of being safe, I think that's one of the things. The parks are extremely safe. It may not. I think they've done a fantastic job of keeping it sort of subdued, so you don't feel like these uniformed police officers are walking around everywhere. But there's tons of security. If there is ever an incident at a park, the response times are incredible. Both from an EMS perspective and from obviously the security and safety of the visitors.
And also, Brother Robert, just so you know, worst case scenario, our ambulance transport is complimentary, by the way. If ever you get sick on Disney property and you transport to the hospital, our ambulance transport is complimentary.
That's awesome. Will they transport? Can they transport me back to Tampa? Get that free ride home when I'm worn out.
Only to the hospitals, right?
Yes.
I'll find a hospital nearby in Tampa.
Well, Robert, I'll take you. I'll drive you personally back home.
There you go, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. Got me. So, code 3, all the way home.
Yep.
So we're talking about, like the food. So when you go here, and this is a personal hack that Sister Lou and I always end up loving about that fall period when they have the food festival at Epcot, is eating at a park in any park, whether it's Universal or Disney, can be expensive. Eating there at a restaurant, especially if you've got a family that you're trying to feed and you're sitting at one of the sit-down restaurants. But going to like these festivals that they have where food is available in smaller portions, like their food festival that they do at the end of, in the fall, is a great way for you to experience all of the different food of all of the different countries and cultures. And when you're in Epcot, by the way, one thing you may know it, but you may not. Every nation that's represented there, the people that are working in those sections are from that nation. So
Yeah,
if you go to Epcot and you go to Canada, or if you go to London, or if you go to Paris, all of the people working in that section of the park are from France, or are from England, or are from Canada, speaking the native language. They can talk about, obviously, the culture in a very first-person sort of perspective, because they are from there. So, we really encourage you, if you're there, talk to them, ask them, be inquisitive. And then the food is really very authentic when you're there. So if you don't want to have to spend, husbands, this is a hack for you. If you don't want to have to spend a whirlwind tour of Europe for your spouses, and you want to be able to get them to get the full experience, take them to Epcot. It'll cost a little, but it's not going to cost as much as taking them to Europe.
And then if you want to try it, that's a perfect place to try it, because, like you said, they're
right.
small, right? And you're like, I've never tried this kind of dish before.
And it will also fill you up too.
Yes, it can.
As you go to different countries.
Yeah.
And you're getting your exercise, because that 20-minute walk from China back over to Canada to get some poutine, you'll end up burning a bunch of calories.
Yes.
But, and there are inside the parks, each and every one of the parks has these little hidden restaurants, and do some research and look for the specific off the menu items. There are specific off menu items at almost every restaurant, which typically are less expensive, but there are things that are available to guests that you can experience and really enjoy. One of the things that also at Epcot that we love, obviously, is being able to shop in those stores and get a lot of those, like Japan, for example. When my kids were little, when RJ and more RJ than anybody else, you walk into Japan and you walk into the souvenir shop in Japan, and they have all of this legit anime stuff, right? And all of these things from Japan that you can't get anywhere except either at Japan and Epcot or in Japan. That's where, so you may be going to Disney looking for mouse ears and different things, but you definitely don't sleep on going to these different souvenir shops within Epcot's worlds and getting souvenirs that are specific to that region, because many of those are one of a kind that you're only going to be able to get there.
Yeah, to that country.
Which in going there, of course, those are souvenirs that are ones that are definitely things that you want to keep for a very long time. Sister Lulu bought a coin purse from China years ago when we still lived in Atlanta, and just absolutely loves it. It's a little Chinese coin purse, and going back, we every year since then we've been to Epcot. We've gone into the China gift shops trying to find it, and we can't find it anymore. So it looks like I'm going to have to fly her to Taiwan. It looks like I'm going to be faced with no choice but have to fly her to Taiwan. So one of the things also in many of the theme parks with going there and trying to figure out, aside from the weather that we talked about, right, Brother Billy, best time to go, obviously as far as weather is during the off summer months, I guess is what we call it. So you're not fighting weather and dehydration, but let's talk about the rain too, right? Because that's a thing. If you're going to be in Florida, just know it don't matter when you come.
Yes,
it could rain.
Definitely, it could be rain, and as we know, as true Floridians here, it could be raining in the front of your house, in the back of the yard. It's sunny as ever, right?
Yeah.
So it's always good to invest in a poncho as well, an umbrella during that time as well. In the summer, if you do plan to go.
Well, and one of the things that we always talk about, also is that when it does rain, usually the rain doesn't last very long, right? It's usually rain that just comes in and it sort of rains for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then it subsides right afterwards. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize too is it doesn't matter what time of year, because everybody thinks, well, it always says that rainy season's from June until like November. No, that's hurricane season.
Yes.
That's the vast difference.
Big difference.
That's hurricane season from June to November, but it can rain anytime. So be prepared. Bring, ponchos, umbrellas, like they said, especially if you've got a stroller, take advantage of it and just throw everything into that stroller. Strollers, by the way, another little hack. People are so worried, especially today. These strollers are super expensive. I think I've seen strollers that probably cost more than my first car that I bought. And you're parking the strollers there in these big, massive, stroller parking areas before you get on a ride. And people are worried, like, well, people can take our stuff, or they might take the wrong stroller. I take a little air tag, just drop it into the stroller, right? A little air tag to be able to track it. So this way, you know that if your stroller goes missing, because it looks exactly like the 50 other strollers that are there, you'll be able to.
Yeah, it magically disappeared.
Magically disappears, right? So you want to be sure that you
bring your wheelchair. Tag.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, absolutely. But as far as like rain, just know that that's also. And we found this out the last time we went to Universal, I think, right, Sister Audrey? Like the first time we went to Universal this year, it kind of rained, caught us by surprise, weren't prepared. So, me and Sister Lou were trucking little Jamie around in the stroller looking for places to shelter, and we're not as well prepared for that one. The second time around, we looked, and we saw on the weather maps that there was like it floated between 60 and 80% chance of rain. So we like really thought about whether or not, were we still going to go? Is it going to be worth it to still go to the park, considering there's like a 70% almost average chance of rain? And we went. We said, okay, we're going to go. That's one of the benefits of having an annual pass is like, we can only be here for an hour. I don't feel so guilty because I didn't spend $8,000 to get into the park. But when you do go, and even it's a 60-70% chance of rain, one of the things that we discovered, it was like, I won't say it was empty, right, Sister Audrey, but the lines, like the lines for certain rides that were like 2 hours the first time we went.
Yeah, not nearly as bad, because the first time we went, it was like a holiday weekend. I don't remember what holiday it was, but you could clearly see that there were families there, saturated on a Sunday. But this time, because of the forecast, I'm pretty sure majority were all Floridians. They all knew better. So the lines weren't nearly as long. And I mean, to add to the tip jar, go to the ride that you want to, the most popular one first, because that will, two things. It'll either be empty first thing in the morning, or the line will be so long, but at least you've gotten to the ride that you wanted to go, and then everything else is low priorities. But with that being said, we did go on one of the most popular rides, and it was nothing like, half the time to finally get to the ride. It wasn't a 2-hour wait. It was like 30 minutes. That's so goes by when you're with friends.
I have a Florida question follow up to that. Did you ride the ride one time, or were you able to ride it again?
Oh, no. So I am no longer in my 20s. So last time I said, this ride was going to be my last, and I'd be happy because I'm a huge fan of this novelty. That was not the case when you're going with friends. So yes, I did fall into peer pressure this time around. I did ride multiple roller coasters. This has to be my last one. So it's like, if to expand the opportunity for less nausea and vertigo, definitely took the one ride and I was done.
Okay.
Well, it's like I said, I went on the one roller coaster ride that I had ridden roller coasters in 7-8 years or more, and I'll be waiting probably about the same amount of time before I go on another one, strapping in, because the experience was like completely different when you're my age versus when I was in my 20s and 30s. But going to the parks too, I noticed that like the more popular, it's like going to the grocery, right? When you go to the grocery, they have this strategy of putting the most popular things like milk, eggs, and bread all the way in the back, right? Because they know that while you're doing that, you're going to have to walk through and you're going to be tempted by all this other stuff. I feel like the parks do the same thing. They put the most popular rides at the back of the park. So that way you have to walk through all of this other stuff to get there that could distract you and whatever.
The gift shop is normally the exit.
Gift shop, right in the front, aren't they? Like literally, the first thing through the gates is like the gift shop, the souvenir shop.
First and last.
First and last, because they play on your emotions. You are so excited to be there. So bingo, get something. And then, but you don't want to get a lot because then you have to lug it around with you throughout the park. But once you've gone through the highs of just being there, the adrenaline, the oxytocin of the magic, you want something to remember this by. So that's when you'll get more.
Now, Hollywood Studios, a couple of the ride dumps out into the gift shop as you exit.
Yes.
So you have to go through the gift shop, and you'll see your funny pictures going down the roller coaster, screaming or crying, and then you're going to want to buy those pictures, and then all the other merch as well. So it's pretty clever.
True.
Well, you of course they offer up the shirt that says that I survived the whatever ride. So that's the thing that you gotta kind of make yourself, you have to exercise self-control, I guess is what that is. But when you do that, that's a great hack. This is Roger mentioned is that, you get there, if you get there early and get there early because I know even more recently now that people are revenge vacationing is what we call it, right? Because after the pandemic, for so long, people couldn't go, so they've been holding this all in. And now all of a sudden, everyone is revenge vacationing and they're just out there in droves. But plan your days, making sure almost every theme park has an app, right? So make sure you download the apps, you understand, and the apps are pretty sophisticated. I know at the Disney parks, for example, which I think is phenomenal, they have Wi-Fi free, and it's available at the parks, and it is no joke. It's like legit high-speed Wi-Fi. I think Disney bought their own internet company, so they have their own private internet service.
Well, they have their own solar power as well, and there's a solar field in the shape of Mickey's head. So
of course it is.
Yeah, it is Mickey everywhere.
So when you're there and you're using the apps will tell you wait times at rides, tells you location, and the apps actually, if everybody in your party has the apps, which I think is kind of cool and stalkerish at the same time, you can see where everybody is at in the park. Because that way, if you want to meet up with everybody, you just look at the app and you say, let's all gather, wherever that is. But that's a way to try to really strategize getting the most out of your parks, because like what we just talked about, the first time we went to the park, usually 2 to 3 rides max, and I think that's one of Brother Tristan's pet peeves is spending all that money and only being able to go on 2 or 3 rides. Yeah. But when you think about like the last time we went, I think, Sister Audrey, did you guys? I know you didn't ride a couple of them, but I think Brother Ethan and Sister Kat and Sister Sheena, they got to go on like 6 or 7 rides.
Wow. Oh yeah, right? Yes. The young bucks, they definitely like the last couple of hours being in the theme park without the 30-year-olds slowing them down. They knocked it out one right after the other.
Wow.
And that was because to the rest of the world, everybody saw 60 to 70% chance of rain, so they decided to not. So if there is rain, there's always rain in Florida. Just be prepared, bring your ponchos, bring your umbrellas, still go to the park, because there's a good likelihood, unless it's the middle of July and there is a hurricane.
Yes.
Don't go to the park.
Well, the parks will close if it's that bad.
There's a good likelihood. They want to make money, but it's safety first. So there's a good likelihood that they will close the parks and the rides too. Some of the rides will close when it rains, but then just remember the rides will reopen, especially if there's lightning. There's lots of lightning in those storms as well. And when you do go to the parks, I think one of the things that's also an important tip, aside from being sure that you've got umbrellas and ponchos and everything for the rain, I have to reiterate and repeat it because it's that important. What Brother Billy says: hydrate. You are walking, like he said, 5-6 plus miles, and not soda, not coffee. It's just plain old water. You just got it, because you will sweat, you will suffer from heat exhaustion, headaches, and things that'll just make your park trip really unpleasant. If
you can also get Powerade from First Aid stations as well. No fee.
Really?
You go to first aid station. Can I have a Powerade? I feel kind of weak. They'll give you a Powerade as well. Ice cold
Well, look at
Powerade.
that.
You heard it here.
I know where I'm going first when I go down.
First.
Can I get the Brother Billy special, please?
So if they stop that, we'll know why. All of us went to the first aid.
So in the last couple of minutes, since we've got our panel of experts here, Brother Tristan, I got to ask you,
Oh yes, I want to know.
what questions would you have that would get you to become a theme park fan?
Right. No, I mean, I heard a bunch of great tips that I didn't know about, like being able to get Powerade for free if you need it. Add that
Now
on my
the
list.
lines at the first aid stations are going to be like the lines to get into a ride.
Right. No, I mean, one thing that for me that was always kind of hard to get right timing wise was when is the best strategic time to get some food. Because sometimes lines can be long, especially when everybody's trying to get lunch at the same time, but then maybe you want to take advantage of the shorter lines because everyone's eating at the same time as well. So there's so many recommendations for that because it could take a large part of the day if you're also just waiting to eat. So,
Yeah, making those reservations. If you go into like those actual restaurants, the reservations will get you in pretty quick. And also on the app, you can order like the basic stuff like your French fries and hamburgers for the kids and whatnot. You've utilized that app as well, right?
The park apps are really helpful. You could be at one ride and go, okay, I'm going to order this, and I'll ask you, are you near? And I'll say, no, but I'll be there in 10 minutes. So you can actually put a time.
Yeah, I'm not an app guy. I'm old school. I'll stand in line and wait with a grouchy face. I'm hungry. And Sister Joy looks at me and shows me the app. She's like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, oh my gosh, the app, yes. So
Yeah, I mean, while you're waiting in line for the ride, you can be like, okay, if we're gonna eat right after this, boom, 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 put your order in, and then it'll be easy breezy through that line. Because now I'm sure what they're doing now is everything is on the app so that you can order ahead, and that way there's not a long line of bodies. That way when you come in, you put your name in, you get seated. And then they already knew what you ordered, so they'll bring it to your table.
And you can change the time. So you're like, ooh, this ride is taking a little bit longer, or,
And then after the app, you can take a nap.
Yeah. I'm like, let's go.
You actually have to schedule that on the app too. I'm going to take a nap in between rides, So what, as far as like the going to the different parks and using the apps, obviously if you're using the apps, that's going to give you a huge advantage. That's why they're there. But then they also have these things like these fast lanes, fast pass, whatever things to try to cut ahead of lines. Is that what they call them?
Yes.
Lightning
lane. So are those things actually, because they're obviously I remember when they didn't cost money, but now they cost money.
Yes, now they cost, and they change it.
I remember you used to be able to go in and you only had like 3 lightning passes or fast passes that you were able to get while you were there, but they were free at the time. But now they charge for it. But I mean, are those things worth it, or is it better to just be strategic?
For us, we're strategic.
Yeah, we're strategic on that,
if that's what you want to call it, or I don't know.
Because I've seen those lightning lanes attack people as well.
I would say it depends on the ride, especially if they like when we were at Universal and Hagrid's ride was very, very popular because it just replaced the big hot ticket item in that part of the theme park. It was definitely worth getting the ride or getting the fast pass. Same thing at Hollywood Studios. When Star Wars first came out, and all the Star Wars fans like myself, but the ones who were willing to go the extra mile to go in the fast pass lane, it was still an hour long. But if you were in the regular ride, it would have taken 4 hours.
Yes.
I think that's the and now of course we're down to the bottom of the show. I can't believe we talked about this for an hour. And there's still a whole library of hacks,
go on.
Right? But I think one of the things in closing, Universal just opened a brand new park, and that park, Epic Universe, opens. I think it opens officially this month or next month, and it's just going to be just another insane experience for people coming down here. What I've seen thus far, as far as the attractions and things, it's definitely, I think, going to really push the boundaries of this sort of Universal versus Disney rivalry down here in the Orlando area. But please reach out to us here on INCRadio Florida for additional tips. You need some more insider knowledge about what to do when you're here, we'd love to hear from you. But for now, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And of course, thank Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, our executive minister, who helps to continue supporting this, along with Brother Angelo Eranio Manalo, our CEBSI CEO and CFO coordinator, Brother Manly Andaya, our executive producer, and of course, Brother Wally Taraya, our station manager. But for now, this is Brother Robert here in Tampa, Florida, for Sister Audrey, who happens to be here also in Tampa, for Sister Joy, Brother Billy, who are both at the happiest place on earth there in Orlando, and Brother Tristan here in Tampa. We thank you so much for joining us on INCRadio. Please stay tuned. INCRadio Washington, D.C. is coming up next.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo.